Okay, so we are going to add and subtract some more polynomials. But now, as you see, we're writing them as functions. So this is f of x equals g of x equals. Do not let that throw you off. That's just the name of the function. That's just what we're calling the function. That's what we're calling the polynomial, okay? So when it says add f of x plus g of x, when it's asking you to do that addition, or when it says subtract and it's f of x minus g of x, you are literally just using the polynomials, but it's telling you which polynomials to use. So for instance, here, we only have f of x and g of x, so it makes sense. But sometimes you might have an h of x or an r of x. And then if you look at the difference between b and c, it does matter which one is which. If I just ask you to subtract these two, you might not know which one should be subtracted from which. So that's why we have these names for them. So let's see. I'm calling this first one a. It says f of x plus g of x. So I'm just adding the two together. All right, so this is what I'm doing. I'm adding f of x plus g of x. And since it's just addition, I don't need these parentheses. These parentheses are getting in my way. There's no reason that they're there. So I'm taking them away. When I take them away, I notice that I have a plus, a negative. So I know that I want to change this plus a negative to just a straight up minus. Plus a negative is the same as just a minus. So I'm going to be subtracting that. And then now I realize like, oh, okay, well, I have some like terms. So I want to identify that my x to the fourths are like terms, my x squareds are like terms, and then my constants are like terms. So I identify those and kind of match them up. You don't have to underline them. You don't have to circle them, square them. You can do this mentally, but it might be nice to just know which ones go with which. And so now I'm just going to add them like I was asked to do. Negative 4x to the fourth plus negative 3x to the fourth. Well, 4 plus 3 is 7. So negative 4 plus negative 3 is going to give me a negative 7. Then I have 3x squared plus negative 14x squared. That's like 3 minus 14, which is the same as 14 minus 3, but keeping it negative. So that's going to give me a negative 11. And if you're struggling with this, that's when you want to break your calculator out and just put 3 minus 14 in your calculator. Then I have 14 minus 8, which gives me 6. And so that is my final answer. Negative 7x to the fourth minus 11x squared plus 6. So that is f of x plus g of x. All I had to do was take the polynomials that I was given, these two polynomials, the one on the top and one on the bottom. The one on the top is called f of x. The one on the bottom is called g of x. I just had to take these two polynomials that I was given and add them together. B is saying f of x minus g of x. So now this is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be doing subtraction. So same f of x and same g of x, but now I'm doing subtraction. So now you see here I have a big subtraction sign in the middle instead of an addition sign. So I don't want to just get rid of my parentheses here because this subtraction sign over here, this subtraction sign in the middle does mean something. And what this means is that I need to actually distribute. What this means is I actually need to distribute it to each of these. And what that's going to do is change the signs of my second polynomial. So whatever is being subtracted, all the signs are going to change. And it turns out that all of these are already negative. So that means each one of these, I keep doing the spotlight on accident. Each one of these negative signs is actually going to become a positive. And again, that's because we're distributing this negative in here. Negative times a negative becomes a positive, so on and so forth. Negative times a negative becomes a positive. So whatever you're subtracting, whatever is being subtracted, you're going to distribute that negative, and it's going to change the signs of that polynomial. So let's see. Positive 3x to the fourth, positive 14x squared, positive 8. That's it. And now this is great. This is just like the previous problem where I'm just adding them. As soon as I take care of that negative, this quote-unquote subtraction portion is done. Now I'm just combining like terms. So I just need to identify my like terms just like I did before. Those are my like terms. And now I'm going to do the addition. Negative 4x to the fourth plus 3x to the fourth. Well, that gives me a negative x to the fourth. 3x squared plus 14x squared gives me 17x squared. And 14 plus 8 gives me 22. So again, this is f of x minus g of x. This was a subtraction example. But we have another one with subtraction, and now it's flipping it. It's saying g of x minus f of x. So some of you are probably thinking, well, won't it be the same? No, it does matter, and that's why it's important that we call our functions what they are. So now if you look, I have g of x first, and then f of x. Very important. I switched them because that's what I'm being asked here. I'm being asked to subtract f of x from g of x. So at that point, it's very similar. We need to distribute our negative, and we know that it's going to change the signs of what we see inside here. So this is going to become a positive, this is going to become a negative, this is going to become a negative. Okay, very important. Very important that you do that step with the distribution of the negative. Once you do that, I get a positive 4x to the fourth, a negative 3x squared, and a negative 14. Well, now it's just the same as before. I'm combining like terms. When you're doing addition and subtraction, it all comes down to combining like terms. So all you have to really do is identify what's alike. These two are alike because they both have x to the fourth. These two are alike because they both have x squared. And these are alike because they're a constant. They're constant, okay? So make sure you pay attention to that and just combine like terms. Keep doing the spotlight on accident. Okay. So now when I combine like terms, negative 3x to the fourth plus 4x to the fourth gives me x to the fourth. Negative 14x squared minus 3x squared gives me negative 17. And negative 8 minus 14 gives me a negative 22. And once again, if you're struggling with those, you can put that in your calculator. Just make sure you're not putting in the variable. Just put the numbers in the calculator, and the number goes in front of the variable. All right, so that is the example of how you do addition and subtraction with it written in function notation. So f of x and g of x. So when you get these problems, just do regular addition and subtraction with polynomials, which really comes down to combining like terms. All right, and then for B and C, those types of problems, just make sure you have them in the correct order. All right, good luck.